Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, I hope everyone is doing okay this morning. I have an engagement. I have a doctor's appointment that I'm going to have to go to today. That's not going to be till 2, but I have something I need to do before then. So I'm doing my show early this morning, and I'm getting a few in early. And there's a few that I want to do. So let's do that. I'm sorry, I'm checking my sound. By the way, if you dig what I'm putting down, if you get up on what I'm putting down, oh, look at that. Always, without fail, check your sound. Always check your sound. That needs to be a goddamn t-shirt. Always check your sound. All right, so I want to talk about Khanna. My wife said, "Why do you guys use his first and last name when you call him?" I'm like, "Well, we also use Bill Clinton, George Bush. I use both." Look, I said before, I think Khanna is a perfectly affable guy, and from the standpoint of what he takes of policy, I actually don't necessarily hate what he puts out during policy. I had a great conversation with Lauren Steiner yesterday. Lauren is plugged into all of this stuff, and usually somebody I bring up, she knows the person or she's talked to the person, and she said, "I spoke to Khanna about this, and Khanna has dual endorsed by that night." And she was like, I told him that was a bad move of you doing that and making that endorsement. So let's look at this first, and we'll talk about it. Because look, I went after Khanna. I think I call him a traitor and a rat, or something to that effect. That is somewhat brutal, and I am not a calloused, person who do the news. I'm not an SOB just for the sake of being an SOB. If I put a knife in somebody, I'm putting a knife in somebody because the person, did something I put a knife in. I never put a knife in a person that didn't deserve it. But he was responsive. Lauren's point to me, and I think I had to concede the point. Again, I'm not a callous news guy. I had to concede the point. As a lefty, I'm sick of cowards. Tired of them. I don't have the patience for them anymore. I can't tolerate them. Elizabeth Warren not supporting Sanders is an utter and complete, absolute betrayal. Now, I understand she may have had this kind of nod and all this. I'm sick of people not showing a certain degree of political courage when they go about their affairs. And I understand being good on human rights. It's great that you're good on human rights. You're a person. Thank you for being a person. And thank you for being a good person. But I shouldn't have to thank you for being a good person. It's like saying, I don't beat my kid, or I take care of my kid. I'm glad that you take care of your kid. That's a good thing. Can we go a bit beyond taking care of your kid? That being said, Khanna comes out and endorses both. He gives a dual endorsement. He backsteps. I have all these jokes in my head of kneel before Zod. This type of thing, or this Thanos with the glove. Pow! Bow down. But I don't want to be a dick about this. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, we as lefties must understand that not everybody is going to agree with us politically. The sad part about it is I think he, for the most part, agrees with us politically. My question revolves around, why did you endorse him in the first place? But, as Lauren kind of made the point, regardless of why he did it in the first place, the fact that he was somewhat attentive to the concerns of a particular community, or we would consider to be our community, is a positive. And she's right. This is Politico. Progressive freshman backtracks on Crowley's endorsement. Now, the way Lauren made it, she said he couldn't necessarily rescind an endorsement. So the only thing you could really do at that point is give a dual endorsement. So let's see. Khanna wants to have it both ways. The progressive freshman from California has partially pulled his endorsement of House Democratic Caucus Joe Crowley after being skewered by progressives on Twitter. They're not lips. In an attempt to tamp down on the outrage, Khanna now says he's co-endorsing both Crowley and New York's Democratic challenger Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm equally inspired and dual endorsing her, Khanna said on Twitter on Wednesday. I explained why I support Joe, but I want to affirm Ocasio-Cortez's bold, progressive positions. Khanna, in an interview, blamed himself for an embarrassing flap, saying he didn't do enough research about Crowley's challenger before issuing a full-throated endorsement of the Queen's party boss last week. I didn't realize it was a significant race, Khanna said on Wednesday. A lot of times people don't have a real challenger, and I think she's a formidable candidate. But Khanna prompted head-scratching and snickers from some fellow Democratic colleagues. It is rare for a lawmaker to endorse a fellow colleague's primary challenger, particularly after publicly backing the sitting member initially. Khanna's about-face also likely brought some more attention to his decision to weigh in on the race than his initial endorsement would have. Look, I am one of those people who was hard on Khanna after this. And like I said, I was like, there's a rat in our midst. This is utterly treasonous. I was being brutal. And I had some feelings about it after it, thinking to myself, were you being too brutal and going after the person for not supporting Ocasio-Cortez in the first place? Is it possible that he did know that the other person was in the race? Look, my wife, many times, is the person who I talk to about this, much to her chagrin. She's the person who I bounce stuff off, or if I'm preoccupied with something that's taking place or that's going on, or something that I said that I didn't think I should have said, or something that I said that I think I went too far on, or being too harsh in my perspective. I always say I'm an Aries moon. Sometimes it's a hard dog to keep on the porch. But on this, I said, is it possible that he did not know that there was somebody else in the race? And her BS detector was like, she was like, yeah. Now, is that political cover? Maybe. Is it possible that he didn't know who was in a race? Yes, it's possible. Do I believe it? I'm skeptical. Personally, I'm skeptical. But I would make the point that Lauren is right. It kind of goes besides the point. Ultimately, there was somebody in the race who he did something that was that's typical Democratic politics. And based on pushback from a community to which he pays attention to and is apparently receptive, he tried to make amends. That's better than being tone deaf. It just is. And it is something that's somewhat different. I mean, that may not necessarily be a ringing endorsement. Because, like I said, I'm sick of political cowardice. But between the tone deafness of Hillary Clinton, the tone deafness of other people in that office, he was receptive. And so I can't take a shot at the guy when he was actually trying to pay attention to the community itself. So, Khanna dual endorses both. Look, just for myself to Khanna on this, I don't know if he's ever going to see this. And yes, I hit you pretty hard when you didn't go for Cortez, because I'm sick of political cowardice. And I understand that he may have taken the position where I didn't think she had any chance of winning before. That's kind of my issue. I mean, the whole idea that she didn't necessarily have a chance of winning is somewhat besides the point. And I get it. I also get it on the second front of endorsing her may make you look bad from the standpoint of Crowley. But here's the thing. You're running with a particular community of people who felt cheated and shafted in the last presidential election. Part of the people who felt shafted in the last presidential election had to deal with political cowardice from Elizabeth Warren from the standpoint of not supporting Sanders, who was somebody who was close and who many lefties, myself included, believes that would have been enough for Sanders to win Massachusetts. Would that have given it a different tint? Yes. Yes. And it's somewhat problematic of media not being willing to ask Elizabeth Warren and stick Elizabeth Warren on this thing of, why did you do it, Elizabeth? I love your position on bankers. We don't have a conversation. We don't have issue here. Why did you do it? Now, that's the context that people are looking at this in. You, as somebody who's admittedly put forth good ideas. I like the ideas. I don't hate Khanna. I don't hate the policy. I don't like the half step, the sitting on the fence. And maybe that's me being overly cynical, and maybe that's me being overly harsh. But I am a creature of the environment to which I find myself. This society, and awash in political cowardice and yellow bellying. So, I appreciate the attentiveness. But in races like this, you must understand that there's a certain faction of the community that is going to look at this and they're going to say, he is a Justice Democrat, and it looks like you would support another Justice Democrat. And when that did not take place, I felt strongly that he needed to be hit for it. How do you get them to do what you want them to do if you're playing tiddlywinks when the person is doing something that you think is a betrayal? And yes, I think it was an utter betrayal. But that being said, the attentiveness is something that I want to put emphasis on, because I do think it's awesome that he was willing to come back and said, okay, I'm going to dual endorse because I want to try to make this right. I can appreciate that. So I'm not going to keep this one overly long. I just wanted to make the point that Khanna comes out to dual endorse both. And I am moderating. I often say I don't like moderates. They don't know who they are. But I am somewhat moderating my position on this. No, I don't like the fact that he didn't endorse her first. Yes, I think the dual endorsement thing sounds a little hokey. If you give both people $2, are you really supporting both? Everybody knows at the point on the person who he originally wanted. And so all that's true. Fair enough. But it's also true that we often say we want politicians to be receptive to us. We, and when I say we, I'm talking about people who are creatures of the left, often say that we want politicians to take certain tacks. And the fact is, not everybody who's going to be in office is going to automatically agree with you, nor will they automatically be where you are when it starts. And I may take issue with, why aren't you not already there? That's fair. But the fact that they're willing to listen is good. I like it. That I like. So, Khanna comes back. I'm not going to use euphemisms like tail between legs and all this other stuff. But he listens. He didn't have a 10 ear. So good on Khanna for that. So, I'm going to put this at the bottom. I'm not going to keep this one overly long because I have a few that I want to do. Let's see. Well, I'm friends with like 3 of them. All right, yeah, all right. Paul Chapman. What's happening, Paul Chapman? Yeah, guys, I have a few. Steph is awesome. Steph is awesome. She's fine, man, in the context. Oh, I thought you were about to say she's a fine man. My bad, I misunderstood. She just tries to. Steph is fine. What are you talking about? Dual endorsements are about as good no endorsement in a two-way race. Gabriel MacArthur. Gabriel, I said the same thing, but I'm not gonna overly ding him on this. I understand that this is somewhat of a token. I hear you, and I accept the token. I hear you. I do. Because look, if you're a freshman senator and you have certain political currents that you have to wade through and deal with, part of those is the Democratic Party itself. As a freshman senator, I would imagine that you may think this woman has no chance of winning in the race, and so I'm going to endorse the person who everybody just assumes is going to win the race. Well, the problem with this is everybody is assuming that the woman is going to win the race, and potential endorsements from people like Khanna himself may draw attention to the fact that the woman is in a race, and supporting her may help her in the race. But that may not be the thing that's in your head. The thing that may be in your head is your political realities of sorts, not necessarily paying attention to a community that's not caring about your political realities. They care about you supporting a person who's more closely affiliated with you in a political context, especially if there's a Justice Democrats beside their name. I would suggest to Khanna that in any situation where there is a Justice Democrat, you support the Justice Democrat. Otherwise, what's the point of you being a Justice Democrat? I got to be honest. When I look at him, I see that more than the other stuff. Because to me, that says this is a certain policy or political platform that we're trying to attenuate around. Fair enough. Fair enough. If the other guy that's in the race is not, my suggestion, kindly put it forth, is that part of the thing, the jersey that you're wearing, is that you support people with that jersey. As long as they're not doing anything that's untoward, I would think you would support the people with the jersey. I could be wrong. I'm not in politics. But just saying. Just saying. Alright, I'm going to end this here because I have another few that I want to do and I need to get through them pretty quickly. So, thank you guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks, guys. See you guys in like 5 minutes.